What's going on, guys? My name is Kyle. Here we talk about marathon training, and we are getting into another training block. This video is going to be what I've been up to since running a new PB in the spring. I did a solo marathon, how I'm going to be training. I have 13 weeks until the Corning Wineglass full marathon, aiming for a 3:30. I ran a 3:46 in the spring, so we are upping training and going for some new goals. And then I'm going to tell you about my first week of training. I've already gotten through it. I did my long run this morning, so we're going to cover those topics, and I'm excited to get into another, training block. This is what it's all about. Okay, so just what I've been up to since running. My personal best in March, I ran a solo marathon on 3:30 end of March, and I ran a 3:46. That was about an 8:40 pace. Originally, I had been trying to go for an 8:20 pace, but it just didn't end up kind of being in the cards. That being said, the training that I did produce a great new personal best. Took 14 minutes off my previous one, did it by myself. And so there's so many positives that I took away from that. But basically, I was obviously pretty trashed. So we took about I had 2 weeks from that point, and then we ran the Helderberg to Hudson half marathon, which was honestly just kind of a victory lap. We averaged 7:59s according to Strava. I ran with a buddy, Cody, for about 10 miles, and then we kicked it up for a final 3. So in general, I was just kind of enjoying the fitness that I had to that point. And then pretty much at the end of April, May, and most of June, I would get, 15 to a couple times into the low 30s in terms of mileage, but it was really just lifting weights, kind of a traditional lifting routine, 3 days a week, a push, a pull, and a leg day. And I've been really enjoying it. I've gotten a lot stronger just in those couple of months of lifting, and I'm going to try to continue it. I honestly don't know how helpful a lot of it is to running. But in general, if you can pick up heavier stuff, that's good. If you have better grip strength, that's good. If you can do pull-ups, I don't know. They're just like skills and muscles that I'm excited to work on and build around and see how it works with running. I think the leg day obviously will be doing a lot for me. Doing squatting, Romanian deadlifts, kind of single leg Bulgarian squat, like weighted lunges. And a lot of different kind of calf raises, both seated with toes facing in and out, so I can kind of hit every area of the calves. Yeah, I think there's a lot to that lifting, and I think it can be really helpful. I'm just kind of exploring that right now and honestly just enjoying it. But also, I got married. If you can't tell, I got some new hardware here. So that was also something where I was, pretty kind of like got through the marathons, and I was just kind of focusing on that, not interested in starting an aggressive training block while planning, my own wedding. Yeah, so that was just 3 weeks ago. And then it was kind of like, okay, we got through that. I've still kept some good fitness. So then it was kind of choosing the new marathon, getting in and finding kind of, the closest one that would fit best for my schedule. And that was the Corning Wineglass. It's on October 5th. One of the fastest marathons in the country. The net downhill is really great. The gradient is really smooth. It's not super rolling based on the graph. Obviously, we'll be doing more research on that, but I'm all registered. So we're set to be running Corning Wineglass, and we're going to be going for a 3:30. Sub 3:30 ideally. It's a big benchmark. I need to get super duper comfortable, not only at that, at 8 minute per mile goal race pace, but I need to get pretty comfortable at faster speeds, mainly that 720 to 740. I want to get quite a bit more comfortable. That's something I'm taking away from my spring training block that I want to add in. My speed and extended speed efforts need to be a little bit quicker than how I was, measuring that for the spring. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everything that gets you from the last video or the last couple of videos of me running that spring solo marathon to this point, summer 2025. We lifted a lot of weights, and now we're getting into a new training block, and I'm pretty excited. Okay, so now I'm just going to take you through what I've laid out for my training block, my overall goal and execution over the next 13 weeks, and how this first week went. I'm looking at, like I said, a 13-week block. We're doing 10 weeks of training, a 3-week taper, and then we're letting it rip. We're doing kind of 2 weeks of building mileage with strides. And then we're going to add in to continue to build mileage for the following 2 weeks with strides, but then extended efforts at 740 pace. That's the first 4-week block. And then we're going to do 1 week down, kind of a recovery, like a 25-mile week. Still keep those strides and still keep a little bit of speed work, just a little bit less mileage. And then we're going to jump into a 5-week, ripper, 50+ mile weeks the whole time, a couple in the 60s, and my final 2 I want to get into the mid and high 70s. That's all going to be pushing more and more of that 750 with some 720 pace extended efforts in my long runs, in my midweek mini long runs and things like that. I found a lot of success with that in the spring, so adopting and adjusting those types of workouts for this fall marathon. So that's 10 weeks. And then we're looking at a 3-week taper. I really enjoyed that for the spring. I found it worked a lot better than a 2-week taper, which I've always done, and not fully falling off with mileage. It's going to be, a 76, hopefully. And then we're going to do kind of like a high 30, and then we're going to do like a low 20, not totally falling off and just, resting and rolling and things like that. I know everyone says they're going to taper with mileage, but I think sometimes we get a little hasty with it and we drop off the mileage a bit too quick. And I know it felt better. I felt much more ready to race and never like I was totally checking out during my taper in the spring. So I think that's it'll be a good adjustment for me that I found in the spring that I'm going to be doing in the fall. But taking a look at my first week of training, I'm actually going to take a look at my notes real quick. Pop these bad boys out. Got my marble notebook because I'm going back to school. So this week was Monday, 5 miles easy. And then we had a push day in the gym. That is bench press, incline bench press, overhead like military press. I think there's dips in there. And there might be something I'm forgetting, but that is always a fun day. Let's be real. Tuesday, 5 miles easy, got legs in. That is squatting. That is Romanian. Yeah, I already actually went through leg day, so you heard it. Wednesday rest. I did travel home. I was staying with my parents. Thursday, 6 miles, also in hometown. And then I did a pull day. They were going to the gym, both my parents. So I just kind of tagged along, got that day pass. Then did kind of my pull day, which is like deadlift, which is also a pretty good full body, wide pull downs or pull ups. What else do I do? What's the, I can't remember it. Rows, and some other things. But that was Thursday. Friday, 6 miles. Oh yeah, going back to Tuesday, I did throw strides in at the end of that. I did 6 strides, just kind of, 10, 15 seconds, getting used to throwing a little bit of that turnover in. Friday, 6 miles, Saturday, rest. Friday night, we actually went and, celebrated someone's birthday about 45 minutes away. And then Saturday, we had a barbecue with a bunch of friends. So active rest days for sure. And then this morning, Sunday, I got 12.3 miles in with my buddy Ben. And that got me to 34 miles for the week. So that's kind of a first testing things out with 3 lift sessions, 34 miles in. And next week, we're going to be looking at a low 40. I'm really cautious about ramping up, so I'm going to be taking a lot of miles pretty easy. Next week, again, just throwing in a little bit of strides, but no actual dedicated speed work. I just want to comfortably get into the 40s with the lifting, see how that feels, make sure everything's feeling good, and then we're going to ease into building up to about a 50-mile week before we take that 1 week down. Yeah, that's the training. There's nothing, there's no magic about it. I was kind of thinking about this video before filming and being like, oh, I'm so excited and I'm gonna do this and this and this. But honestly, coming out of the spring is kind of like, there's no like mystery around the improvement that I saw and what I hope to get out of this fall. It's just, I was really safe about my volume and getting to a higher volume for me and doing extended efforts, goal marathon pace or a little bit faster. And it was just consistency. It was just getting out and, getting a bunch of miles in. I'm sure there's more to it, obviously. Yeah, everyone's gonna hit plateaus depending on what your goals are. And I'm sure I will meet those again. But I'm just excited to basically take what I did in the spring, add it into the fall, combine that with heat. It's hot. I have not been running with a shirt most days just because with this humidity and early mornings are still about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm sweating within a half mile. So, just I think combining the heat with a lot of this, hopefully temps come down and we are able to really rip in October. But yeah, that's kind of first video kicking off here. I'm hoping I threw in at least some footage of what I've been filming throughout the week on my phone. Yeah, Hope everyone's doing all right out there. Stay cool, enjoy the summer. Yeah, don't stress out too much, and enjoy the miles. Peace, guys.